You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Sword Art Online After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Sword Art Online After Show.
Hey there, AFTERBUZZ fans. We are here to talk about Sword Art Online today. Oh my gosh, love this song.
I was never right for
Oh wow, it's the English version. That's awesome. Yeah. What? I know, we're also used to hearing the Japanese version. Anyway, guys, we gotta get it rolling. We're running a little late today, so we apologize. Joining me on the panel today is Katie Cullen.
Hi, all my buddies.
Liz Rishmawy.
Yeah.
I got it. And Tauri Miller.
Okay.
It's so good to have you back, Tauri. We missed you last
Glad
week.
to be back.
How was the wedding?
It was great. Lots of dancing, lots of love.
Yay! Love at a wedding? That's so weird.
Seriously, how 90s.
Cliche. We don't marry for property anymore?
No, not today. Weird.
Yay.
Not at that wedding, apparently. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about. We are here to talk about episode 4 of Sword Art Online, The Black Swordsman.
Stop it, Katie.
Nice.
After last week's really emotional episode, after last week's really, you guys almost fist bumped. That was
We
close.
tried. We really tried to fist bump, but we are
The
too
table's
far
too
apart
far.
on
I
this
felt the
table.
waft of the air from her finger. It was good.
But after last week, I felt like really emotionally affected by that episode. How do we all feel after this one?
I really liked it, and I know already from talking with you guys before that we're going to get into some issues that were creepy.
Yeah.
It was extremely creepy.
You know, 13-year-old
So
girls
creepy.
in underwear and such. But but I really liked the episode because I feel like we saw yet another side of Kirito that, you know, we haven't seen. And regardless of what the outcome was and the reason behind it, he did show this really softy side that we didn't get to see. That it was really nice. So I liked it.
Sorry, how do you feel?
Well, I liked it because it's cowboy Kirito, which we don't see very much. I mean, before it's been like,
Now
oh, it's
I will
cool.
not
Hey,
be
ma'am.
satisfied until he can get an item where he has a cowboy hat. Darn it. That is all I want from this series now.
I'll key it in for you. Every movement is just cowboy hat.
Please Photoshop that picture for me. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But overall,
Commenters, you know what to do.
Oh,
but
yeah.
overall, you liked it?
I liked it. I mean, it was a little, dare I say, fillery. Because, like, I feel like nothing, like, because in terms of the show, I mean, it's supposed to be about the advanced guard doing their thing, trying to beat the game. But it's like, here's this little tale about Kirito and this little girl and a dragon and things.
It's a little bit more world building because we do get a little bit more about different types of players in
Which
the
is
game.
exactly what I was going to say. I wouldn't really call it filler necessarily because we get to learn some things about the skills that you can get. This is what I mentioned in episode 1. I'm like, people can get skills you didn't know, you know, like
Listening.
I still need to learn some of those.
Detective, concealment.
Basically. But I really liked it. And like you said, I feel like it was very important because it showed us other parts to the world that will probably come into play later.
It was character building and world building. So, Katie, how do you feel?
You know, I'm not sure how to feel about this one. It was really cute. Again, we did get to see a lot of sides to Kirito that we don't usually see, but I also realized the second time I watched it that the abridged series was right about something that the actual series never comes right out and says. And that's actually kind of disturbing when you get down to it. And when we hit that point in the episode, I'll talk about it. But
yeah, Kirito's not always an upstanding gentleman.
There are some things in this episode that were just like, what the hell am I looking
For
at?
those of you listening, she pulled herself away from the
I
table.
just kind of did the nope gesture.
Oh, I kind of feel that same way too. I feel kind of a mixture of, I think a lot of this episode was really endearing, but from a very Western very Western, you know, female perspective. This was kind of a weird, contradictory episode because we have essentially the narrative.
We have a butt.
We do. We have a butt.
And it
We
is
have a
jailbait.
One collective butt between 4 hosts.
We have a narrative saying, like, it's terrible, you know, for people to kind of look at this girl like she's a little mascot, to objectify her, but then at the same time does just that. So it's kind of a little contradictory thing. But now that we've got everybody's feelings on the table, let's go ahead and dive right into it. We open up, actually, surprisingly, not on Kirito for the first time. We open up with...
Thank God, that guy. It's always about him.
So over that
tired
guy.
of seeing his
Seriously.
face.
But,
Where's Asuna? I want her back.
Yeah, seriously, where'd she go? Anyway, so we open on Silica and her guild, and we see that they're kind of having a little bit of a dispute because Rosalia, it looks like she's kind of the alpha in the group.
Why is
and
the
she's
bitch got to be a redhead? I'm just saying. Go on.
No,
Because
it's a
gingers.
fair.
All right. Well,
It's a fair complaint, but we have Rosalia basically having everybody in the guild give her their items, and you know, poor Silica is like, what about me? Like, I need healing items too. And Rosalia is just like, look, you have a dragon. You don't really, and you've already, you know, everybody thinks you're so cute and adorable. Everybody's already giving
take care of you,
Yeah.
and your dragon helps heal you.
So really, I'm the victim here.
Yeah.
And so Silica can see that her fellow guild members aren't going to stand up to Rosalia, even though they know it's not fair. So she's like, you know what?
Peace.
Whatever. I wash my hands of this guild. I am out. Me and Pina are going to go and form our own guild, and
it'll be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. We're going to have lots of parties that you guys wish that you were invited to.
Mother of
And
Dragon
then
is
it was-
out.
Nice.
Nice.
I'll find my own Calazar. And
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 now
then
I
it
want to
was-
spin off Silica, the mother of
But she's
dragons.
gonna have this
Fan
voice like
fiction.
this. Mother of dragons out. What?
Aw, it's adorable.
I don't like slaves or slavery.
well,
actually-
actually, not till later tonight.
Danny,
so-
Danny Targaryen was she was right around that same age in the books.
Oh, God,
anyway,
she was 11 in the books.
no, she was 13.
She was 13. Still not
Doesn't
okay.
help. Anyway, that's a
Not
different
okay.
series.
That's a whole
Moving
other
on.
ball of wax.
Moving on. Really quick, before we get further into the meat of the episode, we want to talk to you guys really quick about a sponsor for this week's episode, Maria Menounos' Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness. So we've got a commercial for you here in just a moment. So enjoy.
Hey guys, Maria Menounos here, and I want to share my newest book, The Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness, with you. Basically, every woman always stops me and asks me how I lost 40 pounds, so I decided to put it all in one book. Everything I did to lose 40 pounds step by step, and how you can too, is in here. I did it with no time, no money, and no willpower, and now I'm going to show you how to do it too. You can pre-order it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, wherever books are sold, and it's out June 3rd. So I hope you guys love it. I hope it helps you in your weight loss journey, and please, please tweet me and update me on your progress at Maria Menounos. Thanks.
And we're back. So, yes, the book, Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness, comes out June 3rd. Maria Menounos, it's filled with tons and tons of do-it-yourself exercise. Yes, most books are filled with words.
And
but this one also
pictures.
has pictures. Pictures that show really easy how-tos for all sorts of fitness tips, exercises. So if you're like me and you feel like you have no time to exercise, this is a really good pick for you guys. Remember, it comes out Tuesday, June 3rd.
And it'll help you be fit enough to survive in an online MMO where you're stuck against your will. Yay!
Only if real life athletic ability translates over to the game.
We've
There
seen
were
how
more
winded
stairs than
people
we
get.
thought.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. You're stuck in your actual body.
Anyway, I just be complaining like, oh, really, brain? You're fat too? Really? Just all with my mind, really? Anyway.
So anyway, we cut back to Silica after the opening, and we see that she's come across several monsters, drunken apes, I believe they are.
Yes.
Giant gorillas with baseball bats and jugs of presumably sake.
And even though
They're
she's
not
a
happy.
mid-level player, there are just too many of them, and Pina jumps in front of her to take a hit, and unfortunately, we see Pina evaporate, and all that's left
I
is
was
a
so
feather.
sad. I was like, I just thought of my cat. I don't know why. He would not sacrifice himself for me. he eats his own foot. He's not. But anyway, he just.
Well,
yeah.
it's
not
her
a dragon.
companion, and right now at this point, it's her only companion because she's abandoned her guild, and to see that disappear, and now she's alone against a group of monsters
And
that
it's
she has
just-
no chance of defeating.
And it's like at the same time, it's so endearing too because you realize that this is a character from the game. It doesn't actually have a soul or like it's not a real thing, but you gain this it's this thing that has feelings and it actually sacrifices itself for you when your life is really at stake. And it's so, and the reason it reminded me of my cat is because my cat looks like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon. So yeah.
Speaking
what
of
I was
cats, in the book they tell you that the Pina is named after her cat in the real life.
There you go.
oh, baby!
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm even more sad. Thanks,
It's kind
Tauri.
of why people
welcome.
get attached to their Pokemon when they play Pokemon. I mean, we know it's a game, we know it's not real.
Yeah,
but
I
it's
could
like,
never
go,
let my
Pikachu,
Pokemon.
go.
I could never let my Pokemon out into the wild. It was,
No, right?
You could let them
I
live
have
in a
never
computer.
done that.
even if I had
catch
like
it and
6
it
of
is
them.
mine.
We've been through so much. I caught you and then I put you in that box and never used you again. But we've been through so much.
But I feel like it was like really sad because I mean at that point, you could see it in her eyes. She's just like, well, I guess I'm gonna die now.
Yeah.
And not only that, but she's like, I'll be with you soon, Pina. And then
And it was
Protagonist.
and it was all she had. But yeah, we have Kirito swooping in and saving her, probably much in the same way that he saved the Moonlit Black Cats last
Exactly.
episode. And she's just crushed. All she has left. But Kirito looks and he's like, I'm sorry I wasn't able to get here in time. But he's like, what's the description on that item? And we find out that it's Pina's heart. And he tells her that, look, there's an item on the 47th floor called the Pneuma Flower. It has the power to res pets within a 3-day time limit. And at first, when Silica hears that, she's, it's, the weight of losing Pina all over again because she's like, 3 days.
There's no way.
On the 47th floor, I can't do that. And Kirito would say, I would just go myself, but the pet owner has to be present.
or the familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll just go together.
And he
Fun.
gives her items. He gives her a lot of stuff to level her up about 6 levels. And he's like, "Don't worry, I'll go with you." And so they travel together to the tavern that I think it was a tavern that she was on her way over to. And we get stopped by 2 familiar faces. If you notice them from
You're Not 17 and Mr.
You're
You're
Not
Not
a
a
Girl.
Girl. I'm surprised they're still alive.
That was my thought too.
Do they have names? No. Are we happy to see them? Yeah, they're probably in love. And we're perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
But like it was just interesting, and then this is getting into the whole conversation that we were talking about at the start of this, even before we started the show. Was they're like, oh, we want to come with us, come part of our group, let's tag up, and it's almost this really awkward moment because it almost seems like if you were to take away the word, she's like, no, I kind of just I joined up with him, and they showed such a hate.
Yeah, they were definitely jealous. And what's interesting is the whole reason Kirito decides to help her is because she reminds him of his little sister. And so he seems to be the only one in this entire episode who's only looking at her as though she's
Child.
as though she's a little girl.
Yes.
Everybody else is objectifying her in a weird way.
But can I just, and then let me just say that, not making it right at all, but we have to also take into consideration that Japan has a very different view of how they look at things. Like, I mean, skipping ahead a little bit, but because we're on the topic right now, there is a scene where we see her in her underwear.
Yeah.
And obviously, if this was probably to air on like Cartoon Network or something during the daytime when our
Back when Toonami was
they would probably not even
afternoons.
show that, and I just feel that, again, in America, we view things that are supposed to be so innocent and not have any sexual meaning or hold behind it, but we take that and think it's a bad thing. It's sexual, when it's not.
However, the dubbing makes some choices, like when they're heading to the inn, they run into Rosalia again.
And they keep saying the word
She's
seduce.
Oh, did you seduce him? And it's like,
Yeah,
she's
it's, you
13 and you're
seduced
creepy.
another one.
And it's the people who wrote the dub, the producers, it's their choice to use that word. So even if Japan doesn't see it as creepy, America made it that way.
But also keep into consideration that they do have to find a certain amount of syllables that fit into the character's mouth to fit into a sentence that stays remotely close. Coerced.
Tauri, go right ahead.
To, I guess, kind of back up Liz a little bit. In the anime does a weird job of making her character develop. In the book, she's more of a warrior, and she's known actually.
She's famous, right?
Well, yeah, she's famous because she's she's like almost leveled out her dagger skill. So she's one of the few people to do that. And they don't really.
She's not as much of an innocent, poor me little girl.
Right. Yeah. Like even in that ape scene, after Pina dies, she goes into this rage and kills like 3 of them automatically.
Oh.
And then
where was that in the anime?
That was
Come on,
negated.
anime. Get it together.
We needed our main character to come in and save the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But again, I'm not agreeing with the word. It's a poor choice of words. But again, this is like some evil so-and-so, and obviously she's gonna say things that are nasty and gross and like not the right words you should use. So that being said, I mean, if it was anybody else that said it, it would have been too much, but because this is coming out of the bad guy's mouth, who cares what the bad guy's saying? She's just being a bitch anyway. So
that's true. That's true. Take everything Rosalia says with a grain of salt.
Exactly. And that's why I said, overall, and again, in Japan, you do have a lot of people in Japan that are of an adult age group that they don't like cute things. And this also, unfortunately, it can consider little girl mascots. But again, and I think for the most of it, it's not sexualized. So
lost in translation.
Yes.
Well,
anyway,
regardless of what our perspective on is, it is a little uncomfortable if you come from a Western perspective and you're watching this and you're just like, ugh.
But moving along though.
We get to the tavern and we have Kirito explaining a little bit about orange players. They're players who are associated. I think they're associated with guilds who kill people, and so if you kill somebody in-game, your icon, instead of being green, it will turn orange, and it'll be like that for about 3 or 4 days?
Yeah. It's not even necessarily kill. If you commit a crime against another player, it's orange, and if you keep doing it and you keep killing people, it goes red, and those are player killers. Because the guy who built a game that is literally life and death in a computer game built it on a PvP server. What a jerk. And some people, even though it's life and death, are choosing to play Sword Art Online as villains and are choosing to hurt other players and kill other players.
But, the thing is that we have to also take into consideration, it might not necessarily be just because these people are like literally evil sociopaths in real life.
Yeah, it could just be that, somebody might have been defending themselves and they had to kill somebody to save their own life.
Or there's no proof that they die in real life. So
that was the thing, though. That was what I was going to say. It skips a little ahead into the episode, but we do find out later that there are some characters out there who do not believe there's no proof that you actually die when you die in the game.
So they're okay with gambling with other people's lives.
Yeah. To be fair, if you're not going around and killing people, it's a fair assessment because you don't know what's going on in the outside world. We're 4 episodes in. It's February right now. Everybody's been in the game for over a year. And so you really don't know. That's a year without any outside knowledge, and all that you have access to is the information that's in the game. Even information brokers don't know what's going on outside, as far as I know.
That's a year and nobody's caught the guy.
Yeah. Where is Kayaba Akihiko? Where are you? He's hiding in plain sight, isn't he?
But I read a book from Osama bin Laden. It took,
He's in a cave somewhere.
Nobody set Liam Neeson on him yet.
Yeah, get on it, world. Get on it, guys.
But
anyway, to move along.
Yeah, so basically they find out after that they're trying to talk about what the plan is when they're going to go to this level 47.
And they realize somebody's eavesdropping on them, and Kirito rushes outside, and they don't catch the person, but we learn a little bit about listening skills, which it's really funny hearing that listening is actually a skill that you can build in the game, because I just, while I was watching, I was like, I could think of a couple people who could use some brushing up on that. Who could use some leveling up, who could use some experience points with listening.
And then we come to the next day, and they go to this level 47, and it's this beautiful field of flowers.
Yeah, it's called Floria, I believe.
Yeah, it's a flower dungeon.
It's just gorgeous, and it's really funny because you see people like walking arm in arm, kind of like it's a good date spot.
I thought it was really cute, though, like bringing back a little to the the whole thing. I think her crush on Kirito is adorable. Like in her concern for everything, even like flashing back to the room where she was in her underwear and almost answered her like, ah, like, you know, it's endearing because that is, if you remember being 13, that was when we started caring about that stuff.
It's definitely an awkward phase.
And they are only 2 years apart.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I remember when I was 13, someone who was even a year older than me was so much older. But, you know.
Potentially several continents apart.
Exactly.
We don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Although we did say that in the beginning, we thought that this might have only been launched in Japan because there's...
Yeah, because there were only 10,000 players to start, and now considerably less than that. Anyway, so as they're going along and defeating monsters on their way, they talk, and she's like, I'm sorry if this is rude. We're not supposed, it's kind of taboo to ask somebody about their real life because again, you're stuck in this game and it's all you know. But I didn't realize that it would be kind of taboo to ask somebody about who they are, IRL.
Yeah.
And so she asks him what his sister is like, and that's when we get a lot of backstory for Kirito. And probably one of the reasons why he retreats to online games is he has a grandfather who is,
very
it sounds
strict.
like abusive too,
physically,
who wanted him and his sister to do kendo, and
who was actually his cousin.
Yeah.
And she might not even know that they're not actual siblings.
Yeah, and they're
that's
raised as brother and sister.
And he says that that's why he might have pushed her away for a lot of their relationship growing up together, which again just goes to show his social ineptness toward, having friends.
Yeah.
Where are everyone's parents? Where
That
are
was
Kirito's
something-
parents? Where are his aunt and uncle? We have no idea. We just know that these two were raised as siblings by Grandpa.
And we don't know why. We don't know why they would raise them as brother and sister as opposed to, by the way, you two are cousins. Because I don't know about you guys, I saw my cousins a ton growing up. And and we were basically as close as siblings, but there was never any question about who was related to who and how and why. So there's a lot of, that raises a lot of red flags and go, wait a minute, something is not right about Kirito's home life.
Yeah. And then we find out that he had all this training with judo, except he didn't like it. Kendo, sorry. So then he basically gets, beaten by his grandfather. I'm so confused.
Why would you high five getting beaten by his grandfather?
It was the hand. It wasn't that fine.
That was the most awkward.
For everybody who doesn't watch the YouTube videos, I'm from New York. I talk with my hands a lot, and Tauri just high fived me as I'm talking about abuse. So
just for the record, it was the hand. It wasn't the abuse.
But we do find out that Kirito quit his kendo training and that his grandfather beat him as a result, and his sister jumped in and went, look, I'm going to train hard enough for the both of us. And she did, and she's become a really proficient kendo. What would you call
Nationals,
that?
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Champion.
She's a champion and really good at it. But he's concerned that her diving into it, that she resents him for it. And Silica is probably like, if you don't mind me saying, what if she likes kendo?
Yeah.
What if she's really happy to do it?
And why would she sacrifice and put that much work and effort into it if she really hated you?
And he was like, huh.
Yeah.
I guess you have a point.
And I also want to put out a point that I think it's interesting too, because I think that maybe from his skills, learning kendo for as long as he did, I know that this is virtual reality and this is all with your mind, but perhaps because he has the training is why he's so good at the video games, because maybe he's a little bit more quick-witted when it comes to action and movement.
Well, and especially a game like this where, you're the ratios and numbers for your actual physical body have come in, and that is, you are your own avatar in this game.
He's working with a different style of sword, but some of the skill probably would still carry over.
Or at least, again, it's a mental thing, but at least you know of that. Yes.
Exactly.
And he's also been playing MMOs for a very long time. Like
That
he
too.
immediately
So
went to
that
video
combination of things probably is one of the biggest things that makes him tied into the fact that he's a beta tester.
Yeah.
Probably gives him a leg up on most everybody else, and why everybody keeps calling him a beater.
Why he's still alive.
Anyway, to move forward, they get the Pneuma Flower, they retrieve it, and they're on their way out. Who shows up but Rosalia?
And Kirito is the one who actually senses that she's hiding because no one else would know. And she goes, hey, you must have really, really high detection skills to have noticed that I was hiding there.
Yeah.
He did use him to find Sachi last episode.
That's
and
true,
that was
too.
a while ago. So he's had time.
And so this is where we find out that Rosalia is actually a member of Titan's Hand.
She's the leader of it.
And they're a group that essentially goes and steals from other players, and they kill
Murders
people in the
their
process. And we find out that even though she doesn't have an orange icon, it's done as a trick.
Yeah.
She comes out essentially as a diversion, and then everybody else goes in and attacks.
Well, so basically her hands are clean of the actual act, and that's how she keeps her icon green. But I find it very interesting that, of all this evil work, and I find it interesting that she's the leader, so to speak. I mean, it's like, really? You're not doing anything, really? It's the outfit. She's talking about Silica seducing people. I'm just saying.
I think she's actually the smart one.
Yeah, well,
she's probably the head and comes up with the plan.
Yeah,
and
that's
she's
like
the
a
one
kingpin
who's able to justify it by going, hey, there's no proof. And so we don't know what level she's at either. So it's very possible she could be the highest level, too, out of all of them.
So anyways, so they get ambushed, and Kirito is like, okay, remember that crystal I told you about? You need to back up. And this is when we find out that this entire time, Kirito was technically using Silica.
Bait!
Well, not so much bait even, but I mean, just because the fact he didn't want to scare her, but it was to get to this woman.
Well, to be fair, he agreed to help her prior to finding out that Rosalia and her were former guild members.
Exactly.
But once he did find out, he was like, oh, this works out well for everybody.
Exactly.
And that was something the Abridged series pointed out where I didn't catch it the first time I was watching the episode, caught it the second time and went, oh my God, he did spend the entire time using her as bait. That's really, really creepy.
And so, like I said,
oh,
go ahead.
The reason he's going after Rosalia, and he tells this story, is that evidently she and her little gang completely slaughtered a previous guild last week.
Yes. And left only one survivor.
The one surviving member of the guild only lived for another day or so, and he kept teleporting to the front lines and begging people to avenge his guild, told him what happened, and didn't actually ask for the members of Titan's Hand to die, just wanted them to go to prison.
Yeah.
Because there's a prison in this game.
Which is interesting to point out, because you wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for this episode, that there is a prison to take people to, which I wonder how the creator of the game wanted this whole thing to go with the justice system and everything.
Yeah, you can
definitely something player created.
Maybe
that's true too. But if it was something that was built into the game, then you could definitely tell that this is something he had planned from the start. Yeah. Anyway, so Kirito goes out, and that's when they realize, they're like, wait a minute, when Silica calls his name, one of her guild members, one of the members of Titan's Hand, goes, wait a minute, black coat. His name is Kirito. And he carries like this type of sword. Oh my gosh, like this is the beater that everyone's been talking about. He's a member of the assault group. And
he's the only solo player that's on the front lines.
He's the Black Swordsman, which I look at Kirito, and the Black Swordsman is not exactly the name I would have picked out for him.
When I read
very Game of Thrones.
the episode title, I was like, is this episode about Agil? But it's not.
It would have been great. I miss him. He needs to come back.
Yeah. He might.
Except he has an axe, doesn't he?
But
Minor details.
so regardless that they're like, well, we don't care who this guy is. He can't be that tough. And then they just start flying at him.
And it does absolutely no good. His health revives. He has his stats and everything and equipment, and he's at a high enough level that he revives health faster than they can dish it out.
Exactly.
Could sit there all day, and you wouldn't be any closer.
Exactly. And so he rushes at Rosalia and, has her at knife point and goes, look, I don't mind having an orange icon for a couple days. And that's when they surrender and they go to prison. And he and Silica, you know, they sit down and it's very clear that they're about to revive Pina. And we get Silica saying, you know, when I revive you, Pina, I'm going to tell you about the day that for one day I really had a big brother. And that says a lot about her own character too. You know, if she has a cat at home, she's probably an only child, and probably, you know, having somebody like Kirito around, it's nice to have somebody to look up to.
Exactly. And I think this just opens up a whole new, you know, wave of where's the next episode going to take, because it is kind of jumping around between different characters. Are we going to see old characters from the last episodes? When is Silica going to show up again?
Yeah, and when are some of the characters that are still around from previous episodes going to come back
Kirito
up?
makes his first friend. I think that's very important.
That's
He
true,
makes his
too.
first friend who survives.
True.
Oh, man,
tears.
that hurt. And actually, we didn't mention it last week, but last week the title of the episode was The Red-Nosed Reindeer, and we didn't talk about it, but the choice of song, I was contemplating it prior, and we ran out of time. But it's about a character who, you know, the song is about a character who is extraordinary, who is ostracized by his peers, and then, you know, comes in and saves the day at Christmas.
You thought you were done crying about last week's episode. You're not done.
I was just really mad we didn't get to talk about it, so I just wanted to mention that, because, like when that sunk in, I was just like, oh, man. But anyway, this episode ends on a much happier note than the last one. And we know we can, like, this is probably the first kind of optimistic episode where Kirito, he's not ostracized, he's actually accepted by somebody. Okay, is there anything else you guys want to bring up about this episode? Anything else you want to talk about?
No one they made us love died.
Yay!
Except the dragon, and the dragon came back. Woohoo!
Playing with your heart.
Yep. Well, I guess that wraps it up then for this week's episode of Sword Art Online. Katie Cullen, where can the people find you?
They can find me on Twitter and Tumblr at Kiaxet. That's Kiaxet. I am also on the Attack on Titan panel.
Liz?
Hey guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram by the same name, Lizzie Mawy. That's LIZZY-MAWY. And coming soon to another AfterBuzz podcast near you, I will be on the Dominion panel.
Woo!
And I will also be doing the Musketeers. So check out for that, okay?
Awesome. I'm Tauri J. Miller. You can catch me on Twitter at Tauri J. That's TAURIJAY. And also on the 100 panel. Haha.
Nice. And I'm Megan Salinas. You can follow me on Twitter at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. If you like what we're doing here at AfterBuzz, please go to iTunes, go to the Sword Art Online, and slap us with a 5-star rating. Leave a comment.
Don't really slap us. That would hurt. But
that lets our bosses know that you're enjoying our anime recaps and that we might get to do more.
Boost up our numbers, guys.
Yeah, exactly. That lets them know that we're doing a good job. So thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.